Well, hi there, my name's Philip. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the A to Z of Clarinet. This is episode 1, or A, and that is Articulation. We need some intro music. So it's quite apt that we should begin the A to Z of Clarinet with articulation, because the alphabet and articulation, for me, are completely intertwined and inextricably linked. I'm not sure who it was that said it. It was in an interview somewhere. It might have been Michael Norsworthy. It might have been Bradford Ben. I apologize to whoever it was that said it, but they said that we should have just as many articulations as there are letters in the alphabet. The moment I heard that, my mind was blown. Now, when I started playing the clarinet years ago, way too many years ago for me to care to remember, I hated that that harsh consonant sound at the beginning of every tongue. And so I would hide it. I would fake tonguing in my lessons and in band rehearsals. My teacher and my band conductors were always saying, "Oh, I don't want ta, I want da, I want da." And so I was always kind of felt like my tonguing was harsh and that, I felt like I needed to hide. Now, over the years, I did manage to soften that sound and I was able to produce a fairly beautiful da at the beginning of each note. But I quickly discovered, playing repertoire, especially playing in orchestras, that was just not enough. I needed much more variety in my articulation. Now, I did lots of exercises given to me by lots of different teachers, but it wasn't until a couple of teachers, one Paul Dean and the other one Erik van Deuren in Holland, that really kind of gave me the keys to unlocking the door. Now, when I arrived in Holland almost 20 years ago to this day, my teacher said, Erik, he gave me this tonguing exercise. It was Ool study number 7. I think it was 7. Yeah, pretty sure it was 7. He gave me Ool study number 7. And he said, "Okay, I want you to play 4 notes on every note, as short and as loud as you can." So I did that. And then he would say, "Oh yeah, that is very good, but I believe I said short and loud." Yeah. You are making some good progresses, but I believe I said shorter and louder. So here I am going. And so I did that a couple of times a day for the next 2 years. And I guarantee you, I'm not lying, I did make my tongue bleed. And fortunately, I made it bleed in a lesson, which was really good, because then my teacher said, "Okay, well, now you have the proof." Now, I'm not suggesting that you should make your tongue bleed. No one should make their tongue bleed. I was young and stupid. I thought I was cool. Okay, just please give me that one. Tying that in with the exercise that Paul Dean gave me, and I'll talk about that in a second, what I came to realize was that if we practice articulation in extremes, then what we're left with in between, where we started, and our nice soft tongue that we've developed over the years, and those extremes, what we have is a huge variety of possible articulations that we could use. My band conductors would say, "I don't want ta, I want da." And I thought to myself, well, that's all well and good if you like things to sound like da, but what about na? What about la? What about ja, qua, foi, and everything in between? Then I heard that quote, and it was only a few years ago now, that every articulation, or what is it? We should have just as many articulations as there are letters in the alphabet. It really has connected those dots for me. So the exercise that Erik gave me, that is Ool number 7. You can use anything. It can be just any study you like. Kel is great. The Longinus studies are fantastic. Even Sam Sandegursky's studies are perfect for this. But you want something that has basically a full page of 16th notes, of semiquavers, across all the different registers, so you get practice tonguing repeated notes up high and down low. And what you want to do is you want to play them loud, and you want to play them short as you possibly can. Now, I don't normally say this, but I want you to throw technique out the window. I want you to forget all of that wonderful, lovely, soft tonguing that you have. We are working on an extreme. Okay, disclaimer. I would never play like this myself, and I would never suggest that anyone else should play like this themselves. What we are doing is simply an exercise, okay? We are learning stamina, we are learning strength, and we are learning extremes. This is not how you play Brahms. This is certainly not how you play Mozart. Maybe if you're playing Fernihoe, you might need to use it. As far as tempo goes, well, what you should probably do is find your, the upper limit, a nice comfortable tonguing tempo that's fairly quick. I mean, at the time for me, my top tonguing speed was 16th notes at quarter equals like 116 or 120. We can talk about tonguing speed another time. So what I would do is I would take this exercise down to say 104 or 106, something like that. A fairly mellow tempo, if that makes sense, but you got to work really hard for it. And once you get, to the end of that page, you're going to be absolutely exhausted. Now for Paul Dean's exercise, this is completely different. What we are practicing here is the release of the tongue. We pay so much attention to how our tongue touches the reed, but, well, at least for me, I found that I spent very little time in my younger years thinking about how the tongue came off the reed, the release of the reed, of the tongue off the reed. So with this exercise, we're going to put our metronome on and we're going to play a note, and then we're going to practice putting our tongue on the reed while continuing the airflow. Now we've got a gap of, at least a millimeter between the reed and the mouthpiece, okay? We're going to use that. We're going to use that for the air to continue going down. One of the biggest mistakes that people make in articulation is they stop the air, or the air, restarts for every tongue. That's how you get ghosting sounds. That's how you get all kinds of horrible intonation things. But keeping that air going as we're tonguing is something that we need to cultivate. So we've got our metronome on, and we're going to practice putting our tongue on the reed and playing with our tongue on the reed. Now, it shouldn't really make a sound. You might get a smidgen of sound, but we're practicing touching the reed enough so that it stops the note, but not so hard that it stops the air from being able to go through that aperture between the reed and the mouthpiece. Now, once we've practiced that for a little bit, with our metronome clicking away, we're going to play one whole note of an open G, and then a whole note with our tongue on the reed. And pay very close attention that when we do this again, when we repeat that, we go back to playing our normal G. The release of the tongue is every bit as important as how the tongue touches the reed. In fact, it's probably more important. Now we're going to continue doing this. We're going to halve the length of time we spend on each operation, I suppose. We're going to play 4 beats of G, 4 beats of G with the tongue on the reed. And repeat, 4 beats of G, 4 beats of G with the tongue on the reed. Then we're going to halve that. So 2 beats of a G, 2 beats with the note on, with the tongue on the reed. 2 beats with the 2 beats of G, 2 beats with the tongue on the reed. And then so on and so forth until basically what we're playing is, we're thinking in demi-semiquavers or, 30-second notes, but what, 30-second notes of on, off, what that equals is staccato 16th notes. Now, it's going to be super frustrating, and this might not seem, all that intuitive for the first few weeks or even the first few months, but stick with it. This is a really valuable exercise. Of course, just like Eric's ool exercise, I'm not suggesting that this is how you should be tonguing all of the time. This is not your default tonguing position. What we're practicing is an extreme. We're looking at that really minute detail of how we put the tongue on and off the reed and controlling that movement. So if we have this control, we have this extreme ability to play short, to play long, to play loud, to play soft, hopefully, if we work really hard at all of those extremes, we will have a full range, a full gamut of sounds and of possibilities that we can make with our articulation. I say it to my students, my teacher said it to me, and I'm sure your teacher has said it to you, or you say it to your students. Who knows? I have no idea who's going to watch this video. If we want really great examples of excellent music making, we listen to the great singers, the Jussi Björlings, Thomas Kvasthoff, Barbara Bonney, all of those amazing singers. What is it that they can do that we can't? They have all of those vowels, all of those consonants at their disposal. The more we can do to have variation in our sound so that we can emulate that quality of the human voice, the better off we're going to be and the better music making we're going to have. So that's it for A. I hope this has been helpful. Please give me a like, share, subscribe, all of that horrible stuff that YouTubers say. Join me next week for B. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic one. So take care, and I'll see you soon.